This is Danya Ishaq. My roll number is 22K4811 from section BSSE 4A. Today I am going to discuss that how I am going to solve this example, which is example number 4, through graphical method. The LPP model of the exactly same problem was solved by Bushra Reis earlier. Before I begin, let me read the question clearly. The question says, Cool T Dog is ready to hit the road and go on tour. He has a post consisting of 150 dancers, 90 backup singers, and 150 different musicians. And due to union regulations, each performer can only appear once during the tour. A small club tour requires one dancer, one backup singer, and two musicians for each, while a larger arena tour requires five dancers, two backup singers, and one musician each night. If a club concert net T-Dog $175 a night, while an arena shows nets him $400 a night. How many of each should be scheduled so that his income is a maximum, and what is the maximum income? Through graphical method, we are going to find the maximum income. Towards the solution, we have found these three equations from the given data, which are x1 plus 5x first remove the inequality sign and replace it with equality to solve the equation, and then we are going to take the value of x1 as 0 initially and solve the equation. The equation was, I'm sorry I didn't mention the equation first. The equation number 2 we found from the given data was x1 plus 2x is equal to less than equal to 90, and then later we converted it into the equality sign to solve the equation, and then we put the value of x as 0 and find out that x2 is now equal to 45. So the found out point is 0 comma 45. Okay, the exactly same thing will do it for x2, but now this time we are going to use the value 0 for x2 instead of x1. We put x2 is equal to 0 this time, and we found out that x1 will be equal to 90 after solving the equation, so the point will become 90 comma 0. These are the further 2 points which we found out from equation 2. Now let's talk about the equation 3, which is 2x1 plus x2 less than equal to 150. Initially it was less than equal to, now we have converted it into the sign of equal, because you have to solve the equation. We are going to repeat the same step which we did for equation number 1 and equation number 2. We have to put x1 as 0 and x2 as 0 in the next part. So if I talk about the first part, I have put x1 as 0 and found out the value of x2, which is 150. So the point which we found out is 0 comma 150. And if I talk about the next half, when we put x2 as 0, initially I didn't mention here that it was x2. In the next part where I put x2 as 0, we found out the value of x1, which is 75. And these are the 2 more points which we found for equation number 3. So if I talk about all of the points, we have in total found out 6 points, 2 for equation 1, 2 for equation 2, and 2 for equation 3. We are going to use these 6 points and plot a graph according to the values. And in the next part, I am going to show you that how did we plot the graph for these equations and their values. This is the graphical representation of the points, the 6 points we found out through the equations. And obviously we are going to mark the points first and then draw lines, margin lines, according to the intersection and the possible crossing we can make. Okay, for x1 I have chosen the y-axis is basically representing x1 and the x-axis is basically representing x2. That's the whole representation logic. And now I'm going to tell you the points which we used to plot this graph. Okay, so the 6 points which we found out basically were 0, 30, 150, 0, 0, 45, 90, 0. See, these were the 4 of the points, and the rest of the 2 I'm going to mention them later. These were the points and we have plotted the graph accordingly. This point shows 0, 30. Here we have done 150, 0, and this is 0, 45, and this is 0. This is 90, 0. Here I have written it. I think it's not clear. These are the 4 points, and rest of the points which were 0, 150 and 75, 0 are here. After marking the points, I have just drew the margin lines accordingly. If I saw any kind of intersection, I have drew that, and then on the points of intersection I have named them as A. Let me just clear the previous circles. Yes, I have named them as A, B, C, D, and E. And these are the 4 to 5 points which are going to decide the maximum value, which was the purpose of this question. Okay, so from the graphical representation I showed earlier, it was clear that for point A, D, and E, there were no intersections and these points were previously cleared through the graph, so no need to solve them through equations. For point A, the value of x1 is 0 and for x2 is 30, while for point D, x1 is 75, x2 is 0. For point E, both x1 and x2 are 0 as this point was found on the origin. Well, for point B, there was the intersection between these two equations, x1 plus 5x2, x1 plus 2x2. We are going to solve them simultaneously and find the value of x1 and x2. That's how we did. These were the two equations. I subtracted the first equation. I subtracted the second equation from the first equation and find out x2 and the value of x1 as well. So these are the values 50 comma minus 20, which is 50 for x1 and 20 for x2. And if I move to for point C, there was the intersection again and we solved it simultaneously, both the equations, which were x1 plus 2x2 is equal to 90, 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 150. All I did was I multiplied the first equation by 2 and then I subtracted the second equation. I subtracted the second equation from equation 1, and then we found out that x1 is 70 and x2 is 10. That's how I found the points values for A, B, C, D and E. Last part where we just have to write the types and the x1 x2 values for them, which we just found out earlier, and then their answers. These are the answers we found and the maximum value from it is 1607.50, which is the maximum value for this question. Thank you.